We don't have a gavel up here, so if I start banging the podium, you know it's you. No, the gavel is gone. I'm awaiting official notification. It's 6 o'clock. All right, everybody ready? Mm-hmm. Good evening, everyone. It's my pleasure to welcome you to the Tuesday, August 10th meeting of the Mount Pleasant Town Council. Please see the agenda that you were given or made available to you out front. Item number 1 is our prayer by Reverend Rob Dewey, followed by the Pledge of Allegiance that will be led by Mayor Pro Tem Tom O'Rourke. Please rise.
Let us pray. Heavenly Father, we come to you with grateful hearts that we live in such a town as Mount Pleasant. We thank you for the leadership here. We thank you for the first responders that continue to protect us and their leadership. And then we thank you for those citizens that are concerned and that are here this evening. So we ask your special blessing, empowering of your spirit, so that we can go and do the mission you've called us to do. In your holy and blessed name we pray. Amen.
Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Item number 3 is approval of the agenda. Do we have a motion? We have a motion to approve in a second. And a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion is approved. Public hearings. Item number 4, public hearings, awards, and presentations. We have a longevity award from Public Services. Mr. Strauss.
Edward, if you can join me. Mayor and members of council, it's my pleasure to recognize Edward Weston for 30 years of service with the town of Mount Pleasant. Edward started his career at the town as a crew leader in our facilities and grounds division. He held this position for 6 years. He was then promoted to the rank of foreman in the same division, and he served in that capacity for 12 years. In January of 2009, he was promoted to the division chief, a position which he still holds today. Edward's high standards and work ethic are reflected through the accomplishments and consistent outstanding service of his entire grounds division. There's probably isn't a major event that has taken place within the town in the last 30 years that he hasn't supported. His efforts have impacted thousands of residents. His division is the lead for public services in support to maintaining all town recreation fields and parks. They're the lead for all town special events to include the Christmas parade, movies in the park, the Blessing of the Fleet, Children's Day, Farmers Market, amongst others. They also serve as our lead for the Cooper River Bridge Run, and they participate in all town responses to storms and hurricanes. Even though Mount Pleasant has seen tremendous growth during this time, in his time here, Edward has always displayed excellence and a high standard of service. He continues to take on each new challenge with professionalism and a positive attitude, and he sets an example for our department, and we are grateful for his services. I would also like to thank Edward's family for all the support they have given him over the years. He couldn't have done the stuff for the town, without the support at home. Edward, it's been an honor working with you. Thank you for everything you've done and will continue to do, and congratulations on 30 years with the town.
Thank you. Item number 5 is approval of the minutes from the July 13th Town Council meeting and the June 2021 financial statement. Do we have a motion to approve?
Move for approval.
Second.
We have a motion to approve in a second. Any discussion? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, the minutes are approved. Item 6 is public comment. When the town administrator calls your name, please come to the lectern, and you'll have 2 minutes. And do we have the timer?
Yes, sir.
Yes, we have the timer tonight. Please give your name and address so we know where you live. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor. Good evening. First speaker is Lee Dittrich.
All right, good evening. My name is Lee Dietrich, 2755 Summertime Lane. All right, just to introduce you myself, I'm a retired law enforcement officer with 25 years of experience, 23 years in New York. In November 2019, I joined the Mount Pleasant Police Department to proudly serve my new home of Mount Pleasant. I wanted to continue the profession I loved and a career field that I was confident in, and proud to perform the duties of a police officer. Recently, I resigned due to personal reasons, but the purpose of my speaking tonight is to bring attention to some of the labor practices that the town of Mount Pleasant has been engaging in. The same practices that this council, town administrator, and police chief have a role in making very real change. Many of these changes have no fiscal implications and can be completed with simple changes to existing policy. I could be here for over an hour discussing some of the operational issues that the Mount Pleasant Police Department has been undergoing and that I was a firsthand witness to. But primary is the public safety crisis that is affecting not only the police officers and the firefighters of this town, but the residents. In today's news, there was a publication that $5.4 million was allocated for the expansion of Waterfront Park. It is obvious that public safety is not the priority here. We are currently experiencing the biggest exodus of public safety professionals in the town that has ever seen, both police and fire. This is due to a variety of reasons. Our officers are participating in unrealistic schedules that have been abandoned by agencies from across the country due to the disruptive nature in their personal lives, the implications on their health. It's just something that they don't do anymore. Like I said, I could be here all night discussing the operational issues of the department. Unfortunately, my 2 minutes is up. I would like to have additional time to discuss some of those things, but in closing, I'm proud of my service, and you have a professional police and fire department. You should give real careful consideration to giving significant increases in pay. They currently have fast food wages.
Sir, it's time.
And Mr. Demore and I had an opportunity to have a conversation, but he declined to have a conversation about the issues that are affecting the department. Thank you.
George Freeman.
Good evening. George Freeman, 1450 Bowman Road, Director of Community Activity for CAGE. I'm here to speak tonight on 8A1, the rezoning from office professional to area-wide business. In the Sweetgrass Basket overlay, it seems to be always under attack for rezoning, and it comes in certain situations, the community is willing to work with developers and in some cases are willing to agree to rezoning. But in this particular case, we tried to contact the owner of the property to get a meeting with him to discuss what he's planning on putting on this property. We scheduled a meeting with him, but just about an hour before the meeting, he called and said he couldn't meet it. We never heard back from him, and unfortunately, we missed the council committee meeting last week. So we're here tonight to say we would request that you do not approve this rezoning because the person doing it is not a developer. He has no plans for what he wants on there. He really just wants to rezone it to make more money for when he sells this property. Plus, if you rezone this property without knowing what's going there, you open up Pandora's box to anyone who wants to rezone in the Sweetgrass zone area, because this one will have set the precedence that they don't have to say anything about what's going there. They can just make the request, and then you approve it, and the community can't say anything about what's there, because once they get the area-wide business zoning, they can put anything they want there without any input from the community.
Right.
Thank you.
That's right. Mm-hmm.
William Pessator.
Yeah, but you still can do what's in AB zoning. Could be a strip club.
Good evening. I reside at 2259 Sandy Point Lane. I'm also the Vice President of the Professional Firefighters Association of South Carolina. I'd like to talk to you about the wages for your firefighters. At the end of 1 year, your firefighters are $5,500 behind Charleston, Hardyville, Irmo, Isle of Palms, Myrtle Beach, North Myrtle Beach, and St. John's on their average. At the end of 6 years, they're behind $5,000 still. So now they're behind over $30,000. That's why they're not staying. So let's talk about what happens when they don't stay. The last 4 years, you've lost 67 people, 45 firefighters, 14 fire engineers, and 8 captains. It's a lot of people. That's a lot of people. And the average, based on Mount Pleasant's rules, is the training that they have to come in new, and they have to receive a certain amount of training to attain their levels and to move on. In those 4 years, you've spent $113,155 on training people who are no longer here. So you just wasted everybody's money. You need to pay your employees to keep your employees. You're paying them to train them. How about we pay them to retain them? We need to start doing that. You have a policy in place that it's a mandatory class of 8 weeks for new people. They're not in the firehouse. They're being trained with 5 instructors on overtime before they even get into the firehouse. That's another payout that we're paying for these people to be trained, to be ready to go to work. And right now you have people that are leaving. You have 2 that are handed in papers to go to another city. You have 2 more that the guys already know that they're leaving to go somewhere else. And you had a guy quit in recruit school. What is that saying about what you're doing here? I think we could save money by using more money, some of this money that I just talked to you about, of $113,000 to pay people better and keep them. Because I don't know about you, but I want experienced people at my front door that know what they're doing. Not people that are just coming in the door and they might have a paper degree, but they don't have the experience and the knowledge to do the job. So please consider this when you're moving forward with your process. Thank you.
Ryan O'Shea.
Hi guys, Ryan O'Shea, 262 Willowdale Court. I'm going to challenge you guys to pay our public safety. Quick parable, there's a grandfather who had a child come in and he gave him a watch. He said, go down to the local street, find a gentleman, ask him to buy the watch. Kid runs down, tells the first guy, how much will you give me for this watch? He says, I'll give you $5. Goes back to the grandfather. Grandfather says, okay, cool, $5. Now he says, go now down to the watch store. Ask him how much. Goes down to the watch store. Watch guy says, I'll give you $50 for the watch. Oh, wow, even more money. Cool. Goes back up to grandfather. Grandfather, I got $50. Okay. Go to the local museum now. Go down and see what that watch is worth. He goes down to the local museum. Museum offers him $10,000. Goes back. The moral of the story is know your worth. The watch symbolizes the person's time. These firefighters spend every day they're on the job saving our lives. With that being said, we need to pay our firefighters more. It's an embarrassment that we're only paying them $11.77. With that being said, I'm challenging the leadership here to do a better job in terms of valuing our employees and by valuing them, you're going to keep them. By paying them less than fast food wages, they don't feel valued. They're going to end up leaving. They are leaving. So again, it's an embarrassment that we're only paying them that much. We need to value their time. So I challenge you guys to step up, do the right thing, and pay the guys. Thank you.
Lawrence Tisdall.
How you doing, Council? Lawrence Tisdale, 1535 Trumpington. First, I want to thank you guys for letting us all speak. I am in complete agreement with the last gentleman that spoke. $11.77. We got to really think about this. I mean, these brave men and women behind us, I mean, they're protecting us. They should be our #1 priority, and I don't care what we have to do to pay them a livable wage, but $11.77, guys, it's embarrassing. And you look at them. They are heroes. They're the ones that go into our houses when we need help. When people are leaving, they're the ones going in, guys. We need to rectify this. We live in the best town, in my opinion, in the world. And that's why we're all here. That's why we all live here. We love this town. We just hope that we could rectify this wrong because it's embarrassing. Thank you very much, guys. I really appreciate it.
Kevin Cunane.
What a contrast we see. I'm Kevin Cunane. What a contrast. Firefighters deal with real life. The mayor is about make-believe. Firefighters rush to help. The mayor rushes to the TV cameras. Firefighters earn their positions. The mayor feels he's entitled to one. Firefighters have quietly cared for COVID patients every single day. The mayor issues press releases about his own casual exposures. What a difference. Look, this mayor has been caught lying by the Post and Courier. He's been called out for bullying by the publisher of the Moultrie News. Now we have learned firefighters are being pressured by Town Hall not to speak about their pay. So the mayor has sought access to confidential records for his tweets, but firefighters are prevented from talking about their pay, which is public record. Really? Council, you need to rectify this situation. Look at that contrast, how disgusting that is. As mayor, Haney has roadblocked first responders becoming a higher priority for this town. We see the lame attempts to create some good news here, and I can attest to the fact it's not genuine. The mayor has squandered so many chances to make improvements and chose to do nothing. Now, especially the mayor, don't go out using first responders as props for your tweets and media stunts, including September 11th. You will be called out for it. Stay home and be glad you have lived under the protection of heroic Americans, and stop, just stop latching onto the heroism of others. You have always tried to make things about yourself, and real heroes, like the ones behind me, they don't do that. At your age, you should have created your own story by now in real life, but you live in the land of make-believe, Mr. Mayor. We're on to you. We know if you spent taxpayers' money for fancy dinners out with Mr. Tecklenburg. Meanwhile, firefighters' starting pay is less than $12 an hour. Shame on you. In due time, the depths of all your slimy tactics will become discovered. Thank you.
Brittany Lavelle Tula.
Good evening. I reside at 2115 Oyster Reef Lane. I am the architectural historian who is currently finalizing the Historic District nomination for the Phillips community. So I am here to talk about the two properties that are being talked of being annexed on Joe Rouse Road and Julius Robertson Road. I've heard some misconceptions, and I want to clarify some questions pertaining to the history and context of that community, as I've heard through the grapevine that there's some talk that those parcels were not actually part of the Phillips community historically, and that is false. Those two properties fall within the historic boundaries of the Phillips community, specifically that were created in 1875 and 1885. They are known as lots 30 through 32, and they were cultivated and resided on by a young black farmer named Peter Robertson, as early as 1910, and he did officially buy the property in 1924. So hopefully that clarifies that, yes, we are talking about property that is in the Phillips Community Historic District boundaries and plays a significant role in its designation. This annexation and ultimate rezoning of these lots would push the Phillips community over 20% loss. We do see some development happening, but this 19-acre annexation would actually take that lot outside of its historic context. That would ultimately jeopardize its designation as a historic district. So this would actually destroy its eligibility as a district, the current designation we are seeking, the residents are seeking. So I just ask that you perhaps let the county do what it's going to do in designating that as a historic district, because this would set a disastrous precedent for the rest of the Phillips community. Thank you. Also, thank you for your service in the back.
Radwan Halaba. Good evening. My name is Radwan Halab, and I'm here to speak on item 8A. For the last 15 years, I've been the owner of a 1-acre parcel of land that sits at the intersection of Highway 17 and McKnight. It was originally in the county, and I had it annexed into the town when I acquired it. It's not affiliated with any neighboring parcels, and I'm not affiliated with any other landowners. It sits within the village commercial zone of the overlay district. Prior to my initial submission in May and during the current review process, I have had extensive meetings and dialogue with the town's planning department and confirmed that such a rezoning request is consistent with the town's approved comprehensive plan. This rezoning request has successfully gone through both the Planning Commission and the Planning Subcommittee levels and is being presented this evening for the first reading. There was an issue mentioned at the subcommittee meeting last week regarding potential impact to Highway 17 and 41 project. I've since had discussions with town planners and have confirmed that this parcel, being almost a mile away from that intersection, won't be involved in that project scope. I'm requesting rezoning of this 1 acre parcel to area-wide business, as this meets the town's comprehensive plan and is consistent with other similar area-wide business zone parcels, including the one immediately adjacent to me, across from McKnight, and properties directly across from me on Highway 17, and similar properties both to the north and south of me on Highway 17. As to the concerns mentioned by the previous speaker, those very concerns, as I understand them, were crafted into and protected by the comprehensive plan. And so as this rezoning request is consistent with that comprehensive plan, those concerns are already protected by this use, and that is evidenced by the similarly zoned and adjacent neighboring properties. I did want to mention, I think Mr. Freeman stated that I gave him 1 hour notice. I have the text here that I sent him at 11:30. I was called in to do a shift to cover for somebody. Our scheduled meeting was at 6 p.m. My text is at 11:30 a.m., and I did make myself available for other follow-up and told him I would check my schedule. So I wanted to correct that. Thank you.
Stephen Rizzoni.
Hi, good evening. Stephen Rizzone, 2331 Schuyler Drive. I'm going to echo the words of pretty much everybody that spoke tonight with regards to the pay. I'm a 25-year firefighter, retired a few years ago, but experience and knowledge are the main thing. The pay is hugely important. You know, you want to get the most capable candidates here, ladies and gentlemen. You need to keep them. It's the most vital service is emergency services. No matter what goes on in a town, the emergency service is going to be there. We just spoke to this gentleman right here, Mr. Edwards, for longevity. You're not keeping people here. Okay, you speak longevity, you give out an award, and and you have a gentleman here, longevity. You need to keep these people. You know, as far as different things we've spoken about in years past and other meetings I've come up before you all to speak, we still need to work on staffing. You know, we had this tragedy in Charleston years ago. They lost 9 members of their department. What did they do? They went back and they looked at their department and they did staffing. And they got a minimum staffing to 4 firefighters in each apparatus, which is hugely important to fight fires. Firefighters and police officers do it all. They are the first line of defense. You should know that by now. We're in an area that you have a substantial growth here in town, substantial with everything you can imagine. But what do? They extinguish fires, they protect people from crime. They come out, any kind of emergency, maritime emergency, structure fires, motor vehicle accidents, large-scale incidents. I mean, you can go on and on. Technical rescue, confined rescue. These gentlemen and ladies behind us are the first ones there. They need to be recognized. They need to be adequately paid, so you keep them, because when you have experience, like in a business, you keep people, their experience is going to continue to get better. As you have people that have experience, what's going to happen? You're going to learn from them. You can't have people just come in making $11 an hour and keep turning over. They have nobody to look up to teach them the job. And what happens if you don't learn the job? Unfortunately, you get killed. I was at September 11th. I was at other situations. I came here when I was a firefighter at Charleston. I saw the grieving families. I saw what happened. You do not want to be there when this is happening, God forbid, to one of our members in our department, whether police or fire. It needs to be taken care of. So pay is definitely important, but also adequate staffing is important. There are minimum standards that the nation says, and you need to recognize this, and we need to take care of these people who take care of us. Thank you very much.
Jason Crowley.
Good evening, Mayor Haney and members of council. My name is Jason Crowley, Communities and Transportation Director with the Coastal Conservation League, 131 Spring Street. We're also here to speak against the proposed annexations of the 3 parcels in Phillips, totaling about 19 acres. As Ms. Tula mentioned earlier, this is part of the historic Phillips community. And as was discussed at first reading, the effort for the town to try and create the same density as the county is, while noble, it's a great start. Unfortunately, it loses the ability for the Phillips community to be able to do the Historic Preservation Commission regulation at the county level that they're trying to finish going through the process of right now. They'll be getting that 3rd and final vote to ratify that at the county at the end of this month, but removing this tonight disables that community of the level of self-governance that they've pursued by creating that historic district designation and going through that process. And this would strip out a huge portion of that from the ability to have the Historic Preservation Commission at the county to be able to do the site plan review and scrutiny that the town just doesn't have set up for Phillips at this time. And so by denying this annexation, you allow Phillips to continue for the self-governance that they've been working so hard to continue to have, and we urge you to deny this annexation. Thank you.
Richard Habersham.
My name is Richard Habersham. I live at 2938 Bennett Charles Road in the Phillips community, and I'm also the president of the Phillips Community Association. You know, in the Mount Pleasant Comprehensive Plan, the town said that there's a need to help preserve the settlement community. By annexing these two parcels of property, well, it does the opposite. It'll help destroy the community. These two parcels, or three parcels, affects almost 30 other parcels of property. Almost 30 other parcels. First, how it's affected is by water and sewer. You know that the town got the ordinance, if you run continuous with the town, you have to tie in with the water and sewer. Everyone in the Phillips community don't want to tie into water and sewer because the only affordable housing is mobile homes or modular homes. You don't allow that in the town. So you're gonna make some of these parcels unusable because everybody can't afford those $600,000 home that is being built in Phillip Creek. The other part is our designation. We have two readings from Charleston County to being on the Charleston County Historical District. And we're proud of that. We're the first community to apply for it since Charleston enacted it. We're one reading away from that. And also with Jason and Ms. Brittany said that we are also applying for the National Register of Historical Places. And the way we are applying for it is the land pattern, the land use in the community. This was done since the 1800s. Most of the residents are still there. The land, if you look at how the land was distributed or purchased, that pattern is still there. And that's how we are trying to apply for the National Register. And these two parcels, the three parcels, should not dictate to the rest of the community and destroy our hopes in being a part of the National Register. You know, we don't have no problem if somebody wants to sell their property, they can sell, they can use their property. But since they are in the Phillips community, they should adhere to the standard with the Phillips community. It's like if I go in Park West and buy some property, I can't change the zoning or change the use in Park West. It still should be the same in the Phillips community. Thank you.
Jackie Jackson.
Good afternoon, Mayor and Council. My name is Jackie Jackson, and I own property at 1609 Highway 41. I oppose the annexation of the properties in the Phillips community. Please deny the annexation request of the three properties and the Phillips community that you plan to vote on tonight. Julius Robinson Road and Joe Rouse Road, and Joe Rouse is my grandfather. A few years ago, the Phillips community had to fight not to annex into Mount Pleasant. To my surprise, I found out just by talking to a neighbor that in order to start building, he had to annex into Mount Pleasant. To me, it was a sneaky way of doing things. Mount Pleasant could not come in one way, so they decided to do another. It's a continued plan on the part of Mount Pleasant to undermine the efforts to protect our community. Annexation is a noose of control around the neck of our community. The Phillips community wants to live and enjoy our community. What happened to the 4 Mile area on Highway 17 will not happen to Highway 41. And what happened to the 4 Mile community on Highway 17 is that they are closed in by big box stores, hotels, you name it. These people own these houses for years, their homes for years, but they had to sell out. We don't want to do the same thing. Progress is one thing, but progress at the expense of the lives and well-being of a community is another. Please have some compassion and have some mercy. Our community may mean nothing to you, but it means everything to us. We are not just a number on the map. We are a community that matter. Just like Old Village in Mount Pleasant is historically protected, the Phillips community is just as valuable as Park West, Dunes West, Rivertown, Planters Point. I oppose the annexation of these properties. Thank you.
That's all it's signed up, Mayor.
Is that it? All right. Item number 7 is consent agenda items. Do we have a motion to approve all the consent agenda items 7A through G?
So moved.
We have a motion.
Second.
We have a second. Is there any discussion? All in favor of the motion to approve all of the consent agenda items from A through G, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, the consent agenda items are approved unanimously.
And that's final reading of consent agenda items A through G.
All right, item 8 is planning new business. Hello, Ms. Reed.
Hello.
How you doing?
Good evening, Mayor and Council. This first ordinance before you is a proposal to rezone from office professional to area-wide business district. It is an approximately 1 acre tract of land located on the corner of Highway 17 and McKnight Road, as you can see there in the aerial. It's just south of Brickyard. There's the future land use map. It does call for settlement community land uses for this area. It's also within the Sweetgrass Basket Overlay District, and this is the current zoning. So as you can see, the purple, it's office professional. Surrounding in the hatched is the county, which is all predominantly commercial zoning. And then across McKnight and then across Highway 17, you have some area-wide business zoning, and also you have some office professional. So as I mentioned, the subject parcel is currently OP. It's in the Sweetgrass Basket Overlay District. There is no request to remove it from the overlay. They wish to rezone the underlying to area-wide business and to remain in the overlay district.
Just a minute, please.
Yes, sir.
We're going to have to do something about the noise because we can't hear. So maybe just let everybody filter their way out or get the door shut or something. Now we can hear you. Thank you.
Okay. So within the overlay district, there are different sections. This section falls within what's called the village commercial area between Hamlin Road and Georgetown Road and Porche Bluff. And the purpose of that area is to allow for low-intensity commercial uses. It also calls for aggregating parcels where you can't aggregate parcels. It allows for connectivity for future, stub outs for future connection in the event that you're able to aggregate those parcels. The village commercial area does specifically pertain to the front 500 feet. So from edge of right-of-way back 500 feet, you have these additional standards in place. Within the village commercial area, regardless of the underlying zoning, you do have certain standards. So you have buffers and design standards. One of those is you do have a maximum building size. It's, I think, 10,000 square feet. As I mentioned, it's designated for settlement community land uses. The development guidelines are predicated on interconnectivity, aggregation, and again, reducing dependency on the highway. This AB designation, what would it do is provide the parcel with more inclusive uses. Office professional right now strictly just allows office professional. The AB would open that up to a little bit more, but you would still have the Sweetgrass Basket Overlay District and those village commercial standards having extra requirements on that property. And I'm happy to answer any questions that you may have.
Council? Yes, ma'am?
Ms. Reed, first of all, it is my knowledge recently, because of everything with COVID and a lot of people telecommuting, that banks do not want to lend for office space very much. I don't know if that's everywhere, but that's what I've heard, at least with folks that are considering building in Mount Pleasant. And so a question I have is, if this were to be zoned AB, I know we know what AB is, but I'm just going to use an example of something that's happened a lot. Something banks love to lend for is storage space. And personally, I think we have a lot of storage space, including right around that area. So I guess my question is storage space something that could go here if we change this?
No, ma'am. Self-storage facilities are a special exception in the AB2 district.
Okay.
So that would require the more intense commercial zoning.
Okay. Thank you.
Move to approve.
Second.
We have a motion to approve and a second. I have we're in discussion. I have a quick question. I just want to be sure. So if we're looking at, where are we on McKnight? Okay, so the one to the left that is the, what is that, burnt orange? Yeah, what color is that? Yellow, orange? Orange?
Tennessee orange.
Yeah.
It's a
Okay.
Clemson orange, I
The
think.
parcel we're talking about is the purple one that's outlined in green.
Correct.
All right. The one on the left, that would be the Jefferson building. I used to lease space in that building. And so what zoning does it have?
It's AB.
It's AB and it's in the town.
Yes, sir.
All right. So this is right across the street. It's in the overlay district.
Yes, sir.
And it's only asking for the same zoning that the Jeffersons have on their building.
Yes, sir.
Okay. And the size and all that is protected by the village commercial standards that you just went through.
That's correct. It'll remain in the overlay, and it's a maximum 10,000 square foot per building. Obviously, with the size of this parcel, you would be limited with that and the development standards, but.
Okay,
That's
and
correct.
is this zoning consistent with the new comp plan?
Well, the new comp plan calls for this whole area to be settlement community, as you can see. But what that allows for is, in the Sweetgrass Basket Overlay, it allows for those commercial areas 500 feet from edge of pavement. So it intended for, although it calls for settlement community land uses, it did intend for commercial within that front 500 feet off of the frontage. But this is our comp plan. So across the street, the comprehensive plan calls for commercial, but I think it's community scale commercial across the street. But on this side of 17, it's all settlement community.
But going from, what are they going from OP to AB?
Yes, sir.
Is not in, with the village commercial standards, is not inconsistent with the settlement community, right? Isn't that what the village standards are for?
Well, it is, yeah. Ideally, this whole area is settlement community, which is typically comes in as community conservation. But the county has this area as commercial, and I think it's commercial on the comprehensive plan as well. And as you can see, it's annexed and come in commercial. So it's not necessarily inconsistent because you're in the overlay and you have those extra protections in place. But the comp plan does call for settlement community, which would be a community conservation zoning. We're beyond that. We're office professional and AB, so.
Okay, but it has commercial zoning in the county now?
Correct.
Okay.
And the county has the same protective overlays as well.
Okay.
Their overlay is consistent with ours.
So if it stayed in the county, it could get developed just
This
about,
is
I don't know the county's commercial zoning.
Already in the town.
This is already in the town.
It's already in the town.
It's in the
OP.
town.
It's in the town.
This property is already in the town as OP.
Got it. Okay. All right. The motion is to approve, Mr. Chapman.
Mr. Mayor and members of council, you can see that the planning committee
recommended approval 2-1. I was the one who did not feel it should be rezoned AB. There is no plan for this site. It is purely speculation to raise the value of the property. My suggestion was that this parcel needs to be combined, and part of the comprehensive plan suggests combining properties where you just have a small piece, but you have others. This area between Hamlin and McKnight is going to be impacted by Highway 41 improvements. Yes, those have changed a little bit, but traffic-wise, it's going to be impacted. To have several pieces individually, all you have to show you what this is like, go to Venning Road in 17, Venning Road up to Lowe's, and you'll see what's happened when you have small pieces that have not been combined. You don't have a plan. That's why I voted against this. I realize that property's in the county. Several of those parcels are for sale. They have been for sale. And I believe that there should be some effort. The owner has made some effort, but that was just after I had made that suggestion at the planning committee meeting. So I'm going to vote against this simply because there's no plan for it. And there are, I think what we need to do is come up with a plan which shows combining some of these parcels instead of letting them all come in separately.
Yes, ma'am.
I know we have a motion already on the floor, but just a question, is it possible at this point, since one of the things that might be causing some concern is AB zoning with no idea what it might end up being, is it possible to defer and give our landowners some time to work on that? I guess after the motion, it would have to be withdrawn, but anyway, is anybody open to that?
We have a motion to approve. That's what's on the floor for
Right.
discussion.
Right, I recognize that.
Yes. I don't know how everybody else feels because we haven't voted, but I guess
Well, if we vote to deny it, then isn't it just denied and that's the end of it? What is it?
Yes.
Well, the motion's to approve, so if the motion to approve fails,
That's what I'm
then
saying.
there could always be a motion to defer after that, I guess.
Correct.
Well, we've already denied it at that point.
No.
I think
If we
maybe you could do
turn
it-
down a motion to approve is what I'm saying.
You could do both.
You can do both?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Yes.
So the adjacent properties are all AB.
Well, the orange are
The
in the
orange,
town,
right.
AB. The properties that are all hatched are all in the county.
Yeah.
But those are predominantly commercial, yes.
Yeah, and
Yes, sir.
as I say, I think there's some good points being raised, but the thing that still protects this property is that they are staying within the Sweetgrass Basket Overlay District. If they were asking to come out of that district, then I would definitely be against it. But all this does is open them up to slightly more area-wide business-type uses like a restaurant or something like that. It's not AB2 that allows car dealerships and these other kind of crazy things. It's the lower version of AB, and it stays in the Sweetgrass Basket Overlay District, so it's protected.
All right, any other comments? Did I see a hand? All right, the motion is to approve. So all in favor of the motion to approve, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed?
No.
No. Who are the noes? 1, 2, 4. So the motion to approve passes 5-4.
First reading ordinance number 21060.
All right, that brings us to item 2.
Yes, sir. This is an ordinance providing for the annexation of about a half-acre tract of land located at 2125 Gulf Drive.
Move to approve.
Second.
Motion to approve in a second. Any discussion?
Yes, sir. I'd like to ask the maker of the motion if they'll include 2, 3, 4, and 4 at the same time.
2, 3, and 4?
Yes, sir. They were all approved 3-0 by the planning committee.
Well, they would have to amend the motion and amend the second to do so.
Sir,
I'll amend the motion.
I
Two.
withdraw my second.
These are kind of two different though, aren't they?
Why don't we just
They're all
withdraw the motion? Withdraw, the motion is withdrawn. Parliamentarian, make sure I'm doing this correct.
You
The
are
motion
correct,
has been withdrawn.
you are correct, sir.
That way we don't have an amended motion without a second. All right. Is there a motion? Ms. Chapman, did you want to make a motion?
I'll make a motion that we approve 2, 3, and 4.
All right, the motion is to approve items 2, 3, and 4. Is there a second?
Second.
We have a second. Is there any discussion?
It's Mr. Mayor.
Yes, ma'am?
I guess I just have some concerns about item number 3, about the rezoning to public institutional from neighborhood commercial, and wanted to, I understand the planning, due to illness, I was unable to be at the planning committee meeting, but I would like to understand a little bit more of the necessity of that change.
Okay, and I think David
yeah,
Nisi is
that's-
here, should we need? Is that why you're here? Okay. David from Waterworks is here, should we need him?
Yeah.
Sure, David. Thank you for being here.
Yes,
Appreciate
thank you,
it.
Council. Many years ago, when the comp plan changed, it allowed for PI 1 and PI 2, and we tried to rezone all of our properties at one time. At that particular time, there weren't enough signs, and town didn't have the staff to do that, so as we get ready to do something at a pump station, we have to go through the rezoning process. It's been a pump station, will always be a pump station, so the rezoning should be okay.
Thank you.
And if I could also speak to this, there are improvements that they're going to make that really need to be made.
Right.
Including buffers, including improving the driveway, and keeping people from using it as a parking lot, which is what's happening today. And by doing this, they'll be able to make the improvements and also improve the neighborhood by doing the buffers and also.
Right.
That's why I tried to include all these. And I know Councilmember Whitley wasn't able to see what we were able to see at the committee meeting.
If council's going to hear support, will it also hear an opposition, in fairness?
We did that during public comments. Yes, sir. All right, any other questions? Thank you, Mr. Nisi, and thank you for your many years of service to Mount Pleasant Waterworks. All right, the motion is to approve items 2, 3, and 4. We had a motion, we have a second. Are we prepared to vote? Ms. Chapman, are y'all prepared to vote? This is on your motion, items 2,
Yes,
3, and
sir.
4 to approve?
Yes, sir.
All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, motion is approved.
First readings of ordinance numbers 21061, 21062, and 21063.
All right, this brings us to item B, old business.
I'd like to move to defer items 1 and 2 for 1 month.
All right, hold on just a second. To defer.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. We're asked this question. It is okay to defer these for 1 month. That is sufficient.
And that needs to be in the motion, the length of time.
Yeah, well, it is preferred, yes, sir.
All right, to defer 1 month, items 1 and 2.
Second.
And we have a second. Is there any discussion? Let me just add that one of the reasons for this is that, and I want to, those here, when we voted, I think unanimously last month, it was because with the sewer connection and the development possibility, if we deny an annexation, we've seen some things that were not consistent with the settlement communities. We thought that bringing it into the town and giving it our community conservation zoning was the best way to preserve it. If the historic designation from the county is a better way, then that's what we want to find out more about, right? From the planning committee, yes. All right, so the motion is to defer these 2 items for 1 month. Any other discussion? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes unanimously. All right, item 9 is committee action items. There are no committee action items. Item 10 Council new business, the first one is the ordinance to repeal and replace Chapter 110 of our general licenses. This is in response to what came up at the state with having to change. Everybody knows all the changes we had to make. Ms. Kotoff, if you would walk us through this, thank you.
Yes, sir. So what we have is we've presented to you an ordinance to repeal and replace our existing business license tax ordinance, and this one is in conformance with the new state act. So every other year, we're going to have to accept and adopt a standardized schedule. So right now, the one we'll be accepting that they've adopted is based on IRS data from 2017. Our current standard schedule is based on 2010 IRS data. So there are some changes. And as you can see here, some are staying the same, 34% are changing up or down. And this just gives a quick overview. I did send this out so y'all would have time to kind of look at where you can see some went up, some went down, and they changed. And again, this is based on what the state has predicated for us to use, and so we have incorporated that. Now, there are transition limits because we are going from a 2010 schedule basis to the 2017. What the state did not want is to ignore that we could potentially gain money. So we are limited in the transition to ensure that we have flat gross receipts based on our 2020 tax year. So we've done that. This is our current schedule. We currently have 8 classes. 7 of them are the standard IRS class, and the 8th one is kind of a catch-all class for those requirements. And then we do have a declining schedule for those businesses making over $3 million in revenue. So the proposed schedule, what it does is if we left our schedule the exact same, we actually would make some money on this shift. So what we've done is to make sure that all business kind of receive this, this change and the benefit of it. We have dropped down the amount for income over $2,000 across the board. The other thing that the state did is the state said, we would like you to split Class 8 into 2 classes. Class 8 now is only regulatory or state required businesses for, they have a whole different set of standards. And so those, everyone keeps the same. And then Class 9, what they did is they said, okay, here's some that we think everyone puts in a special class. And then you, Mount Pleasant, if you would like, you can also move some businesses in there if you feel like there's an economic stimulus reason for that, or if that business has a disproportionate impact on your town's services or in infrastructure. So those are really, besides the standard ones that they've provided for us, then the town can then go ahead and look at those. So these are the ones that are in the standardized schedule in Class 9, and we already had them in Class 8, so we just are shifting them over to Class 9 at the same schedule. We did remove a few businesses because we either don't have them or the rates were so similar, there wasn't still a rationale to leave them separate. Then the next 2 pieces are kind of a decision point that we requested. One is that there are 4 businesses when you look at the town that have a disproportionate or enhanced impact on our services, particularly our fire services. What we would request is that these be moved into Class 9, but at the same rate they would have been had they stayed in their, what we call the natural class. And so the ordinance we presented do show those, so that what we'd like it is, since we're going to be touching this at least every other year, to be able to bring data back to show if there is in fact, if we can document and show you that maybe we do charge a little higher here or not, but that would be a decision, but for now we'd like to at least have them in the Class 9. The last is in Class 8 in our current ordinance. For a long time we've had 2 NEX codes that are software, and they have had a lower tax rate. So if the plan is to leave these in Class 9 under the economic stimulus, we just wanted to, that was a question. Do we, since they were already special, do we keep them special, or do we put them back in their natural rate class? I did provide data that when we looked at it, there are 76 businesses in these 2 classes. If they were in their natural class in 2020 tax year, they would have paid about $225,000. In fact, they paid just over $17,000. So concerned about the impact, I looked at these after the Finance Committee, and looked at our new rate, proposed rate class, the average of these businesses, on average, they would increase $2,300. We try to be kind of vague because it's confidential information there, but because we didn't hear consensus one way or another, we went ahead and left it in the ordinance. So the ordinance, as presented to you, does include those 4 categories that potentially have a higher impact, but at the regular rate, so there's currently no charge on those. And it does include these that were already segregated out, and it did show those as well. The other 2 things that we asked and got consensus on that is included in the ordinance is a 30-day grace period. Our current ordinance has a 60-day grace period, but because of the timing change and that business license is now due at the end of April, with a 60-day grace period, I'm at the end of the fiscal year, where if there's any issues, I don't have a chance to recover. So we did include only a 30-day, still 30-day, nice. And then a revenue exemption. Currently, we exempt revenue if you lease your business, your building, if you lease different floors to family members. That's been an exemption, and we've had to designate in our definitions what is a family member. What we did request is that only that exemption is for that business. So I have this building, I lease the 3rd floor, that revenue is exempt, but any other revenue is not exempt. And that is included in that way. Again, if y'all would, if y'all have any questions. Oops.
All right, remember this is first reading, so we can't cherry pick and make changes, so.
Move
yes.
to approve.
We have a motion to approve and a second. Any discussion?
I have discussion.
Sure.
So going back to the earlier slide, 1 or 2 before, this one right here. Okay, so reading this ahead of time with what Ms. Kotoff sent us, and I actually asked this at the Finance Committee meeting as well. These are businesses, you can imagine computer programming, software development, and publishing, often telecommuting businesses, or certainly not as intense in terms of back and forth on the roads a lot, things like that. We're talking about 76 companies, average increase to their business revenue if we don't keep them in this Class 9, where they kind of have a special rate for now, is going to be $2,300 a year. I think there's a very good chance that's going to incentivize some of these businesses to move their business elsewhere. That's enough money to make a difference. My reason for bringing that up is because I think if we're going to put them back in their natural fit, that it should be somehow graded over time. Rather than a chunk all in one. I mean, to go from basically, I think we collected, what, 11 or 17,000 to it would have been 107?
We went from just under 18,000 to just over 225,000.
Right, exactly. It's a gigantic jump from just these 76 businesses, and my concern is we will lose a lot of those businesses.
I guess, can I ask a clarification question?
Yes, you may, and then Mr. O'Rourke.
If my motion included keeping them in Class 9?
The way the ordinance, yes, sir, the way the ordinance was presented, they currently, for first reading, are in Class 9.
So it stays
So
the
they
way
would
it is
stay
now.
where they are?
So it stays where it is now?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, good.
Not
I'm
extra.
sorry, I just want to make sure.
No,
Thank
I know
you.
we had some
probably should've-
discussion about that Finance Committee, but after doing some more homework on it, I'm in favor of leaving them where they are.
Good. Okay, thank you. I should have just asked it that way.
That was one of the points I wanted to clarify, but as the Finance Chair, this is important for us to address and deal with. First reading will pass tonight. If there are other issues between tonight and the next committee meetings, I'd like to hear them so that we can give Ms. Kartov the opportunity to make the council members feel comfortable with their decisions, and then we'll address it at the next committee meeting if that's okay. Just to make sure we can keep this thing going. It's important. We can't drag our feet on this one. I'm
No, we
not
have to
saying
do
that
it,
we
yeah,
have.
yeah.
So, thank you.
All right. And again, this is first reading. Any amendments can be made at second. All right, we have a motion to approve. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes unanimously.
First reading, ordinance number 21064.
Item number 2, a resolution and thank you, Ms. Kotoff, very, very thorough. Resolution authorizing and approving the CARTA fiscal year 2022 budget.
Mayor, I'd like to recuse myself.
Okay.
I'd like to make a motion that we approve the budget.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a motion and we have a second. I see that Mr. Mitchum is here. Should we have any questions? Ms. Corley and I serve on the CARTA board, and we feel very good about the budget and the process that got us here. We also feel very good, and this is getting down into the weeds, but CARTA worked very closely with the town on the beach access issue with the buses and showed a lot of support for our citizens. Whether or not they use the bus, it was the imagery of public infrastructure being used to access the beach, even for those who cannot drive themselves out there. So that was very meaningful, and I don't want to speak for Mrs. Corley, but I think we were both very much in favor of us affirming this budget. Yes, ma'am.
Thank you. That's great points, and I'll just add to that that in the Finance Committee meeting, when we heard the budget, we actually got a breakdown of what was going on, and I was really glad to hear, because I know there were a lot of people that thought, oh, nobody's going to ride a bus to the beach, especially if they have a lot of gear and kids and everything else. And actually, it's turning out that the average per day on the weekend is 400 per day. The parking is right there. The bus stop is right there at the circle near the backside near Hungry Neck on Market Center Drive. And I actually drove by there and looked, and yes, all the parking places are available all down the way. So it's actually super easy for families and individuals to park, get on the bus, go to the beach, and not have to worry about all the parking hassles out there. So that sounds to me like a success story, 400 people a day subscribing to it.
Any other comments? All right, the motion is to approve. And again, just for those watching, there is no appropriation from the town to the budget. This is, CARTA is required to get our blessing of its budget. There is no town money going to CARTA. All in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? All right, unanimously approved. Thank you.
Resolution 21081.
Number 3 is adoption of a resolution authorizing the memorandum of agreement between Charleston County School District, the Town of Mount Pleasant Police Department for the School Resource Officer Program for 21-22.
Motion to approve.
We have a
Second.
motion to approve and a second. Is there any discussion, any questions of law enforcement? All right, all in favor of the motion to approve, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes unanimously.
I'm sorry, sir. Resolution 21082.
No problem. All right, that moves us to B, old business. There are no council old business items. Item C is executive session. Is there a motion that we go into executive session for the reasons listed, which I will have to read after there's a motion and a second?
Move for approval.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. This is to go into executive session for legal and contractual reasons to discuss a possible action regarding a purchase of a property for economic development, for legal advice pertaining to potential litigation related to unpaid impact fees, personnel, consideration of applications for the Planning Commission, for the Construction Board of Adjustments, and the Culture, Arts, and Pride Commission. Is there any discussion on the motion to go into executive session for those reasons? After we vote, council may take action on any item, including any subsection of any section listed on an executive session agenda, or discuss in an executive session during a properly noticed meeting. All in favor of the motion to go into executive session, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? We are in executive session. Thank you.
necessarily opposed to this. However, I would feel more comfortable waiting for the results of the wage and classification study to see what the full impact of that could potentially be before considering moving forward with this item. So that's just where I personally stand on it.
All right. Mr. Chapman?
Mayor, I think this is a good project. If we weren't so far in the weeds with the drainage issues within this town, I think it's something that if we had additional ARPA funds, I would be much more at ease moving forward to buy this property. I think it's probably a good idea, but given where we are with our drainage concerns and what has happened with the price of the first project we have underway, I'm going to have to vote no.
Understood.
Mayor?
Yes, ma'am.
One of the issues that did not come up in the back that is very significant to our budget is our budget was prepared this year with the old standard of the business impact, business revenue fees. And I know it's easy to forget this because it's sort of a one-off and a very unexpected one, but we will be receiving the business license fees for this year, in this fiscal year, and we're also going to be receiving them for next year in this fiscal year. So what's going to happen, which is a very significant part of our budget, is going to come in essentially double or more, because hopefully businesses will grow over the next year and we'll have more of them. So I just want to make sure people know that was one of the things we had discussed earlier that didn't come up at all today, that I think people need to keep in mind about the fact that our budget is very conservatively set. Ms. Kotov did not include any of that. So that's going to give us a lot more leeway to do other things, whereas this is a matter of timeliness.
Yes, sir. Mr.
Yeah,
Santos.
Mr. Mayor, I think based on the information that our town administrator gave us, I'm very confident that this is going to be a very positive thing for the town.
Any other comments? All right, the motion is to direct, you got the motion written out there, to direct staff to move towards a contract to purchase property.
Yes.
As discussed in executive session. So a yes vote is to proceed to contract, and no vote is not. All in favor of the motion to proceed, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed?
No.
No.
No. So that would be 6-3. By a vote of 6-3, the motion passes. There being nothing further before this council, we will stand adjourned, and I don't have a gavel, so there we go.
Everybody, 2 more.
Oh, I feel strongly about the